Welcome back to this series of short videos where I am analyzing the use of the zero step in basketball. In this video, I'm going to make use of a video that was originally issued by the Chinese Basketball Association. It is in fact an animation video which I adapted to make use of three different actions. In the first action, we're going to have a look at the use of a zero step by a player who is dribbling and penetrating towards the basket. In the second action, we'll see a player who is on a continuous movement to the basket and doesn't make use of any dribble but makes use of the zero step. And thirdly, we'll see the use of a double zero step at the start of a dribble and at the end of the dribble. So let's start immediately this animation video. And the first action, as I told you, deals with a player who is penetrating towards the basket, dribbling the ball, beating his player, and making use of the zero step. Here, in slow-mo, the player is dribbling the ball, then beats his player, but in the action also grabs the ball with two hands. Therefore, there we have the zero step applied because the player has taken control of the ball. And let's remember that in the rules it says that the player has to take control of the ball with two hands, or else the ball has come to rest in one hand, and that the first foot would be the zero, the gather step. Subsequently, the player can then make use of two steps, as you could see here, the first step, second step, and going onwards then towards the basket. That is a perfectly legal move. In the second action, we're going to have a look at the player, the trailing player coming outside of the central zone, who is going to receive the ball and then continuous towards the basket on a continuous movement without making use of a dribble, but makes use of the zero step. Let's see the action first. Now that may look awkward for some, but if we see it in slow-mo, the player is receiving the ball, and there we have control of the ball. Now, I want to make it clear that one must make a distinction between receiving the ball in the air and on a continuous movement, because if you receive the ball or take control of the ball in the air, like for example you take control of the ball on a high rebound, or else receiving the ball on a high pass, of course there the rules will apply, whereby then the first foot that touches the floor will become your pivot foot. Or in the case of a rebound, if you take control of the ball in the air and then fall on the ground with simultaneously on both feet, then you could use either foot as the pivot foot. But that must be thought of differently than a player who is, like in this video, on a continuous movement going towards the ball. In this case, it could be that in a split second, both feet may be off the ground. He may take control of the ball even in that split second with both feet of the floor, but then the first foot, as in this case, that touches the floor, subsequently will become the zero step, the gather step. So one must make a distinction between the two scenarios here. As you could see, the left foot of our player there is the zero step, and the rules say that after the zero step, after taking control of the ball, I repeat, as I said before, either with the ball in two hands or else with the ball coming to rest in one hand, then any player can make use of two steps in going to the basket or else to pass or to shoot the ball. In this instance here, therefore, if we continue the video, after the gather step, the player can make use of two steps: right foot, step one, left foot again, step two, and on to the basket. So we see it again, legal move, basket. Now, third and last action, we're going to have a look at the use of a double zero step. There are other videos in this series that already have shown the use of the double zero step. We'll see it here in an animated way. Let's see the action first. The player receiving the ball, making use of the zero step to make the dribble, and then ending with the zero step again. Therefore here the player is receiving the ball, and here again, as I spoken before, a player in continuous movement, it could be that the player in a continuous movement takes control of the ball in a split second where momentarily both feet are off the ground, but then as you could see here, the left foot touches the floor and that becomes our zero step, our gather. Now the player can take 2 steps following the gather step, or else, as we're going to see here, if the player wants to dribble, he must dribble, the ball must leave his hands on the dribble before his second step touches the floor. Therefore here we have the left foot as the zero step, continuing afterwards, right foot step 1, and now if the player wants to dribble, the ball should leave his hands before the left foot goes down again on the floor for step 2. And in fact, our player here in this animation in fact does that. Therefore, legal dribble, and now he continues after the legal dribble, and now he's going to gather the ball again in order to end with a layup. Therefore we have the step 0 on his left foot. Subsequently, after gathering the ball, the player makes 2 steps, normal layup, as you could see there, and then the action with the dunk. Therefore we see it again, legal move, correct use of the double zero step. Thanks for watching.